What's up, y'all? This is Crystal with One Little Crystal Tarot, and this is a spiritual slash tarot talk slash fold clothes with me. This video basically is for those who are on this spiritual path, right? But you just don't really know exactly where to start or what to get into, you know what I'm saying? Like, you may be looking at a lot of different things online and just like, well, what is this? What the hell? Like, you know? And then I know with a lot of millennials, because a lot of millennials do watch the channel, some of us are, we know that we're on this spiritual path, but you may not be sure which way you want to go with certain things. Like, some of us aren't too comfortable at church anymore, just because of a certain lifestyle you may have decided to live, or let's just be honest, a lot of us experience a lot of judgment in the church place, and some of us may just be kind of tired of that, or you may have your own beliefs about religion, period. Like, maybe some of us just have a more negative outlook on religion, or maybe not so negative, but maybe you're just looking beyond just an organized religion, okay? Just however it resonates with you. There's many different situations out there. But anyways, you're here now, and it's okay. It's okay. So I'll talk about how I got on this spiritual journey and where it's taken me so far. So my spiritual journey started out in 2010. Right before I had my oldest daughter. I started getting in tune with nature, just noticing how animals interact with one another, how they live. I just really started paying attention to details of the world, not just with my own life. I came to realize that coincidences aren't real. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. I stopped believing in coincidences, and I feel like for me, life just became kind of magical. Like, not to sound cliche or anything like that, but I just really started to feel the magic in the world, and something in my soul started craving a deeper meaning, a deeper understanding. Now, I think after I got pregnant, I kind of got distracted a little bit, because when you have a baby, your physical and mental, it really changes. You experience major changes after having a baby. So and let me add, I come from a very religious family on both sides. Like, the base of my spirituality is Christianity. So yeah, both my parents are Christians. Like, they're pretty religious people. Not super strict, but whatever. Anyways, I would say very sheltered, but not like in a bad way. I don't mean that in like a diss, but they just have very, I don't know. But anyway, so after having my child, I got more into the Bible. I was living with my grandmother at the time. And I got more in the Bible. And I am a person, I take things literal. Like, I'm a Capricorn, and Capricorns, we tend to do that a lot of time. We're practical. We have practical ways, but sometimes I'm not that practical. But that's probably due to the other signs in my chart. But anyway, I'll get to that later. Anyways, I started reading Revelations, and they say, of course, do not start reading the Bible at Revelations. But I mean, I haven't read the Bible front and back, just a few chapters, and of course, I started with the most interesting one, the one that was hyped up. Okay, Revelations got a lot of hype, and from what I've experienced. But anyways, it was scary. I also read Psalms and Proverbs. But anyways, and a little bit of Matthew. But and of course Genesis. Alright, anyways. So Revelations had me scared as fuck, basically. I think this was like around 2012 is when I started to feel, and then I've also had like really intuitive experiences. Like I've always felt intuitive, and I just always felt like I had that gift. So in 2012, I started to feel a shift in the world. And for those of you that are familiar, I believe it's the Mayans that actually predicted the end of the world in 2012. Now, me, how I took it, and a lot of other people, I'm sure, thought that that would be Jesus coming back in 2012. But of course, the Bible says that we will have no idea of when Jesus will return, okay? But I feel like what the Mayans meant is that it would be the end of the world as we know it. You know what I'm saying? Because, of course, I don't think the Mayans believe in Jesus. So, they didn't believe in the Pegasus flying down from the sky and the trumpets blaring in the sky and this, that, and the third. But anyways, with my anxiety, I was at a place where, I was super sheltered, living with my grandmother. I would be washing dishes, like, just hearing about things that was going on in the news and in the street or whatever. I just felt like, it was about to be a wrap. Like, Jesus really was coming back, because this, I just felt like the shit was crazy that was going on in the world. So, anyways, I swear, I would be waiting for the damn Pegasus to be flying out of the damn sky. I was waiting for Jesus to come back. I really was. And that was 2012 when the Mayans predicted the end of the world. So, not saying that I felt like, the end that it really was going to be the end just because of what the Mayans said, but just because I felt a shift in the world. So I feel like, no, it didn't end in the way that the Bible said it would end, but I felt like it did end. Like there was just a new beginning. Like there was an ending and there was a new beginning. It was the end of. I feel like the world just started changing at a very rapid pace in 2012. That may resonate for some of you. Some of you may not know what the hell I'm talking about. But anyway, I can't think of any like world events that happened in 2012. Besides with me, I just, my life changed. 2012, my grandmother actually died. So, like I said, at the time, in the beginning of 2012, you know what I'm saying? Like, and before then, I was living a very sheltered life. And I just felt like I felt very dependent. I felt very dependent most of my life. But, I am the youngest in my family and I'm small. So I just have like this little complex a little bit. But I'm working that out in therapy. Yes, I go to therapy and I love it. It's awesome. It's awesome. Like, even though I read tarot, sometimes when you're intertwining with these different energies and problems, situations, you have to go to somebody too to kind of keep your head straight, you know what I'm saying, and work out your issues. I don't care how much sage, Florida water, baking soda, Himalayan pink salt that you have, sometimes you have to kind of get that off in the physical realm as well as the spiritual, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I recommend therapy. I'm a stand for therapy. So my life changed. I was living with my grandmother at the time, and she passed on, and that's when my life really changed. Like, I really started experiencing some dramatic changes. I was single at the time. So Kristen, that's my oldest daughter, she was going on, I think, 2. She was very young. I was young. I was single. And at the same time, I was very dependent on other people. But those people were removed from my life for a reason. So I started to gain my independence on a physical level. I didn't have a license before she died. I didn't have a car. I really didn't know how to drive. I had just started driving. As a matter of fact, I had just started driving in the beginning of 2012, so I did get a little more independent. And then eventually later on, I got my own place. Well, no, actually that didn't happen until 2013. But anyways, from 2012, it was a turning point. It was a dramatic change in my life. That's when my world started to change. Okay. Then I led astray from God. I always felt like I had that connection with God, but I started to stray away. And it's like when you let a dog off the leash that's been on a leash for a long time. Yeah, I shot out. You know what I'm saying? I hopped off the porch a little bit. And I didn't like what I experienced. I appreciate it because I had to learn some things in order to gain wisdom. So, it happened. And I think 2015 is when I started to tap back into my spiritual gifts and start my road to enlightenment. Yeah, in South Carolina made national news twice that year, I believe. Once for the Charleston 9 and for the removal of the Confederate flag. And like I said, that was 2015. That was a really big year for me spiritually because, like I said, that's when I started to realize that there's definitely something hidden. It's definitely something up. There's some backstory here. So that's when I retracted again and went back to spirituality, but in a different way. I didn't go back to the Bible because that was just nerve-wracking for me. So I found my own way. I'm small as hell, so I stood out a lot. I got a lot of attention, and I just didn't really fit into any specific look or whatever. I don't know. I just always fucking stood out. I've always felt different and a little creative. You know what I'm saying? Well, not a little. I always felt a lot of creative. So anyway, being in that outcast type of energy, like always feeling like the different one, it will take you on a different journey if you listen to your intuition, if you tap into your inner spirit. It will take you on a different path. And so that's just the path I was on. I had to connect who I was, my identity, to my spirituality. My relationship with God was altered. And I knew that I was different because I've experienced so many different supernatural things. I've had a lot of supernatural experiences. And I knew it was for a reason. I knew it wasn't just happening for any old reason. Like I said, I don't believe in coincidences. So I had to go back and connect all of this. And so that's when I began to realize that, black people have had it bad. Not to make this about race, but we've had it bad. And I started thinking about all the things that we've been taught in school. And I just knew it was more to it. And I knew that slavery just wasn't our story. Like, I just feel like slavery has been beaten into us. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be educated on our history, but we need to be educated more on more than just slavery. What happened before slavery exactly? How come we don't know exactly who we are and what we are? You know what I'm saying? All we know is that we're black, we're African American, but what else? You know what I'm saying? Things get twisted and turned all kind of ways when you bring a group of people, a whole race from one place to the next. You know what I'm saying? There has something went down. It wasn't just a one-stop shop, you know what I'm saying? And that's where you get all these different mixed races from. That's where you get a lot of these different, you know, people from. And I don't mean that like in disrespect or anything like that, you know what I'm saying? All of us are beautiful people. But anyways, yeah, so I just wanted to know. I've always been inquisitive, and I always use creativity to kind of understand life as it is. I look at life as art. But anyway, so that's how I got into it. And you just take your time. You don't jump into one thing. I didn't jump into tarot. It was a process. And I said this in Libra's reading. You know, when a baby is born, they either drink milk from the breast or they drink milk from the bottle. They don't just go in and start eating food. You know what I'm saying? It's a process. So this is not a race. Life is not a race. You take your time and you do what feels right spiritually. You know what I'm saying? And you have to use discernment. This path is not for everyone, okay? Because it's all about self-governing, you know. And sometimes I feel like with religions, it's for some people. It's not for everybody, but it is for people who need to feel like they only feel comfortable in groups of, you know, people, and they feel good in organizations, like they feel like they have to belong to a certain group. You know what I'm saying? Like they feel like they have to belong around people. They have to have that person to look to, you know what I'm saying, to convey that message between you and spirit. And, you know, for some of us, I feel like we do better working one-on-one and personally, you know what I'm saying, and having that message conveyed other ways than church or through an organized religion, basically. You know what I'm saying? But it's not for everybody. Everybody doesn't have it to do that, and that's not a diss at all. It's just that, you know, we're all individuals, okay? So I say, like, you know, once you get this enlightenment, once you're learning and stuff, you have to stay humble. You have to stay humble, because it's not easy. It's not easy. You're working independently. It's like you're working from home. You're not working in a environment full of people. You're not working in a corporation or whatever. Like you don't have that type of help. You have to really do this independently. So if you work well independently, then this might be the thing for you. Okay? I'm still folding clothes, so I'm not even done. I'm not even done folding clothes. But I gotta go get my kids soon. Alright. But the next video, I may talk a little more about birth charts and stuff like that. I may get into astrology on the next video. Like I said, I will be posting this tarot talk, spiritual talk stuff in between the different readings, okay? But that's all I have for today. If you guys, again, would like to book a personal reading, details on doing so is listed in the description box below, okay? Or if you just want to chat, you can hit me up. You can hit me up on Instagram, Facebook, and whatnot. So, anyways, that's all I got. Peace, love, and light, y'all.